What's up, everyone? Good morning. We're outside. It's a little windy today, kind of colder actually. It's supposed to be hot out, but it's not. And we're doing our breakfast train talk. I think this is episode 28 today. And just want to say thanks to everyone who's tuned in and subscribed to this page, and hit your notification bell so you can stay up to date when we have new videos. So I appreciate you guys as always tune in. I got my coffee. I got my thoughts. Let's get rolling. By the way, I've been making some ginger coffee lately. Absolutely fire. Today's regular coffee. For some reason that ginger coffee kicks a little bit harder, so I won't be so wound up today as maybe the past, because it's not ginger, just regular coffee today. But let's dive right into it, because I've been reading a little bit about a wonderful paper, Aspects of Strength Training in Sport or in Athletes maybe, by Gunther Titto. Awesome paper. Go check it out if you'd like. And it basically looks at the body. And again, we kind of have a theme of this. We've talked about this a little bit in previous discussions, but of muscle activation through a neurological standpoint. That is how fast your neurons activate muscles, the magnitude and the size of the impulses they send to the muscles. And I'll get to this in a second, why it's so important. But we just need to appreciate that when we look at and you want to learn a little bit more about this idea of looking at the body, not just from the muscle standpoint, but the neuromuscular standpoint and their interconnection. But regardless, from that paper, they talked about the idea of how when we lift something, they didn't talk about this. I kind of inferred this because you can see it on the graphs and they allude to it. When you lift a weight, whether it's heavy, whether it's light or medium, the magnitude of output is dependent on the load, right? How much force maximally you're going to produce is dependent on how much weight is on the bar. But the speed at which force is produced, so the rate of force, that's the initial, there's kind of two phases of it, early and late, is independent. So that first 100 milliseconds is kind of independent of load, the rate at which you're producing force, if you're lifting it with maximal volitional effort. So the way they do the research studies is they say, hey, take this 20-pound thing and lift it as fast as you can. And they say, lift this 80-pound thing as fast as you can and lift this heavier thing as fast as you can. The key word is as fast as you can. Regardless of load, when lifted with maximal intent, so volitional intent to try and move something as fast as you can, you're able to train the nervous system to have high levels of rate of force development, high levels of explosive effort. In doing so, you could really argue that training to move explosively might be one of the most critical components of training in totality, because sport is about improving, it's about that short duration of rapid acceleration. So you hit the ground, you only have 100 milliseconds, 200 milliseconds to produce lots of force. And so if we want to train those abilities to produce lots of force, yes, we want to train the magnitude, how much force can we produce, the size of the pie. But we also want to train the percentage of the pie that we're using, and that's the intent. So when we train with large amounts of intent, we can train these neurological properties regardless of load. And what's really important about that as a strength coach, as a research consumer, is that if these adaptations are intent dependent on how hard you try, as a coach, we should understand trying to move weights with some explosive effort leads to these adaptations, and those athletes that don't express that effort might not be getting those adaptations. But number two, as a research consumer, we need to look at and think about, well, why did someone or something get better? And part of that is we look at some studies. There's some studies that are awesome. They're velocity drop-off studies. So they have a weight and they say, lift it as fast as you can. And when the weight drops below a certain velocity, stop lifting it. And they've shown that certain velocity drop-offs are associated with power gains. In my head, what I think about as a consumer, I go, well, what properties are being trained when you lift with maximal effort? Well, if I have to lift with maximal effort lots of times until I'm tired, am I really lifting with maximal effort? So could a smaller velocity drop-off just ensure that I'm trained with maximal effort every time because I'm not tired? And if that's the case, it's not about the drop-off. It's just about allowing for maximal intent to exist. And in doing so, we do that by reducing the amount of fatigue and trying really hard. So these are pliable, changeable neurological properties that you might often think are strictly endowed to those that are elite athletes. They just have the innate ability to rapidly, explosively produce force. But this is something that we can train. becoming explosive and athletic is a trainable quality. It's made up of multiple qualities, but one of those qualities we often maybe just associate with the endowment of some physical or neurological trait, that is the explosiveness, is potentially trainable and very exciting. Intent is important. So hope that makes sense. I appreciate listening. I'm gonna have my coffee. I hope you all enjoy. I want to keep it there because it's a rabbit hole we can go down, but not today. If you guys enjoy these talks, feel free to subscribe, comment below, and let me know what you want to hear next. I appreciate y'all and take care.